I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the AEW Dynamite AfterBuzz After Show. We are coming to you live from the world-famous AfterBuzz TV studios in sunny Los Angeles, California.
Woo, woo.
And have we got a show for you? But before we get into the shenanigans, the flim-flam, the fisticuffs, the dust-ups, and all that fun stuff, let me introduce the amazing panel. Over to the far, far left, she is the tea-sipping fashionista. Give it up for Jessica O'Connor.
Woo! I like coffee too, actually, but tea is good.
That was a good
I'll
move,
settle.
too.
Yeah, tea, you know. You guys are throwing me off. You're not in the same spot.
We like to keep it fresh, switch things up.
Spice things up a little.
This is professionalism. We got to get it on the fly, you know. Next to her, he is the international super scout and the law doctor. Let's hear it for Roger Corral.
It's hump day, my favorite day of the week.
Hump, 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 hump.
Isn't that a song from the 90s?
Wine Wednesday. Either way.
Why? Whatever works for you.
And to my immediate left, she is the indie darling herself. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Anissa Barr.
That's me.
Of course. Hailing from inside the booth, he is the super producer and the king of the Bing, Bang, and Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Josh Alonzo.
What's up, y'all? How we doing tonight? Another red... Oh, stop, pardon me. Tongue twister.
Whoa.
Scratch that. Rewind. Hold up.
Sounds like a Wine Wednesday in there.
Wine Wednesday inside the booth. You know how it goes.
And of course, I am your benevolent host, Fancy Jack Farmer. Man,
Are you a real farmer?
I am. Yes, sure. Why not? You can't prove it. So why
We know where you're from.
So, man, I'm still buzzing from Revolution. How are you guys feeling?
I'm on a high. I said I don't care about WrestleMania, and I don't care. I don't care. Come at me. I'm all
Come at
in.
me.
AEW.
This was our first show, wrapping up all the fun stuff that happened at the pay-per-view. What were some of your overall thoughts just today? Jessica, let's start with you.
Well, you know, they were coming off of such a huge high with Revolution. So this week kind of seemed like a good week to still obviously put on a great show, do some fun things that we don't normally see every week, but at the same time, give the talent a breath.
I totally agree with Jessica.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Like, we went from like 8, 9, 10. A Saturday show was like a 15. You know, you can only go down from there. Like, you can't, that's too much, guys.
Right. But I thought they did such a good job of sort of gradually, like so many times you see like a big show and then they sort of like stop everything that was before the show and just start over completely new. But a lot of the things today felt like it was very like a gradient, like we're kind of phasing out what we were building up to and slowly getting into the things that we're going to be getting into in the future. Something that stood out to me just to start things off, and we're going to start off talking about Jon Moxley, who kicked off the show. We had said that it's a new era with AEW now with Jon Moxley as the champion. I was thinking about something. But in between the pay-per-views, they have these special dynamites, right? We have Jericho before he's Le Champion. He's fancy. He likes to party. We have Bash at the Beach. We have the Jericho Cruise. But now it's Jon Moxley, this dangerous, scary dude. And what's the one we're building up to? Blood and Guts. And Guts.
And guts.
That was not a sound drop. That was their real voices.
And it makes me wonder if this is intentional, that they knew that, like, the one show was almost like a theme of Jericho, and this is now feels like a theme of Jon Moxley going forward.
I like that. When the NWO had their own pay-per-view, or The Rock had In Your House Rock Bottom, I like that. I feel like the champions should have like their own company, like they're in charge now.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a different AEW, right?
Yeah, I didn't think of that at all until you said that. But now that you put it that way, I'm like, oh.
Now I'm excited what comes after Blood and Guts.
Double
Death.
thing.
So Jon Moxley opens it up, comes to the crowd, cuts a promo, and of course, whenever Jon Moxley does something big and has a moment, I always like to kick it to Anissa Barr. Anissa, walk us through this opening promo.
I mean, we saw it. I don't know if I need to walk into it. I mean, this guy can cut him. I mean,
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
That's our time.
I mean, I think this is great for Moxley. I mean, you know, this is his first love. This is what he's always wanted to do. And I feel that now that he's like the champion and with AEW, I feel like he feels like he's home. You know, cutting his own promos, that's what he's good at. And then, of course, Blood and Guts coming up. Hopefully he gets to choose his own type of match because obviously he's known as a deathmatch wrestler. And some people don't like that and some people do. And, you know, we'll see what's to come. But I hope, you know, we get to see who else is he going to be facing in the inner circle.
Those people are going to have to suck it up because we're in the era of Moxley.
I know. If you don't like deathmatch wrestling, then what are you doing watching?
I like that he
I
gave
like a
the
good sleeper hold.
fans a shout out. You know, like I like that he gave the fans a shout out. He was
did.
like, "This belt isn't for me; it's for all of you," and like. That's just such a different tone from Jericho. So he's kind of, I feel like, giving the fans a little pat on the back without being like a total soft.
Your Jon Moxley impression is very much like your Jimmy Havoc.
Jon Moxley. Sounded like Mike Wazowski. That was bad. Okay, moving on.
Pixar references.
Mike Wazowski.
I like that too, where he's like, it never belonged to Jericho. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to all of you. And we was saying all of you.
us.
I think he specifically meant me.
No. No. He meant me.
Are you the AEW champion, Jack?
I think that's what he said.
By default,
Listen,
The
that belt belongs to all of us.
Well, we'll find out at Blood and Guts. So I loved Moxley comes out and he knows that Inner Circle is going to come for him. And I love how he looks in the camera and says, "I dare you." And of course, Jericho walks out and I can't get over it. I love the crowd singing his song. Yeah. I love that even he stops and waits for it. Isn't that just the
Just play it.
The coolest thing. And they know, they've definitely learned to like cut it off at the right spot. So it's just that hook that they sing at the end. It's such a cool thing.
We should sing it one of these days, guys.
I will find
You know, you could just download it on Spotify. Or Apple.
Yeah.
The lyrics.
So I'm going to go back to you again, Anissa, here. Jericho evoked the name the Lunatic Fringe. How did you feel about him busting out the old nickname?
I mean, Chris Jericho has so many nicknames. Why can't Jon Moxley have so many nicknames?
Do you like the Lunatic Fringe nickname as a nickname?
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like that's kind of his persona when it comes to him deciding of his style of matches, and especially how his brain works on TV. Because off TV, he's obviously a totally different person. But
I would hope so.
Right.
but I mean,
What are we having for lunch?
Could you imagine me at the grocery store and he's like just thumbtacks for lunch? We're off the rails. So I love how Jericho calls Moxley a cheater for not actually having an injured eyeball. Now, he said if you are able to walk out of here on your own free will, I will leave for 60 days. I thought this was him writing himself out. I thought this was him.
I think, you and I thought.
Yeah, we're like, oh, this is him taking some time off. I was 100% sure that was what was happening. You guys sound like you were in agreement. That was
Yeah, I'm like, oh, he booked a cruise or something.
I like to imagine him sitting on on a boat, like still dressed up in the same outfits, but just like with a mojito in his hand.
No one showed up because of the corona.
Right.
Oh my God.
That's just sad Jericho walking around empty cruise.
Empty cruise.
So yeah, that I absolutely thought that. Now, one thing that happened during this, I don't know if you guys heard of it. There was a Moxley sucks chant from the crowd.
Is that what they were saying? I couldn't
I
hear
could
it.
have swore it was Moxley sucks. Now, not a big chant, but did you guys? I guess you guys aren't sure you heard it, so maybe I
So
shouldn't
like there
dig
was
into
a
that.
small section of the crowd you're saying that was kind of pissed. That
Maybe
he's the
like
champ.
an inner circle.
Yeah, I think there was a large section, but they were respectful.
It's like Moxley sucks.
So let's get into it. Let's dive into the main event here. We have Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho versus Darby Allin. It kicks off, and I thought this was fantastic. Coming to get it on. So, Jessica, let me ask you this. The main event starts, and Moxley's doing his thing, walking out to the ring through the crowd, always dangerous. And some guys decided they didn't like this, and some guys in masks, and attacked him. Did you see this coming?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I didn't see the inner circle taking him out of the ring, and we haven't seen that in a long time, so I thought that was fun. It was cool for the people that were in the audience, but sucks for Jon Moxley, man. Not great.
So, yeah, it looks like this rivalry is going to continue a little bit. Roger, did you also feel something that Anissa and I, we were watching this together. We were a little surprised Darby didn't go help out his buddy. Was that kind of a jerk move?
He kind of tried. I saw like a fake, like, should I go?
Maybe. I think he was confused, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're friends with like two guys, but then they start fighting amongst each other. You're like, what do I do? And like it happens.
Yeah,
I grew up in a rough area.
Right. Well, I can understand where Darby Allin's coming from, because I know many times I would have gotten into a fight, but someone was holding me back, and I wasn't able to.
If only
Right.
you could have.
Oh, you were in trouble.
Pull me back.
Pull me back. But this, to me, this main event was clearly a time for Darby to look like a star. And I think he did. How do you guys feel that Darby did 1-on-2 in this situation?
I enjoyed it a lot. I think Darby Allin is going to be the next champion in maybe within this year, maybe next year, you know?
Not the next champion, but he'll be a champion someday.
Next chance.
Or do you think he's going to be the one that beats Jon Moxley?
Probably not. But
It could be a cool pairing, though, for Blood and Guts.
It's
Blood and
perfect
gut.
for blood and guts.
It's
Blah.
But I like Darby Allin. I'm glad that they put him in this type of situation, because you could tell that they are pushing him and they want him to be probably the next star. Because I was mentioning to Jack, like, where is Jimmy Havoc? You know, we don't see him around. He's the only like emo kid that's on TV that I can relate. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
Oh, well, now, can we get him back on, guys?
we gotta get him back on.
If he's not at Blood and Guts, then they
What
just
are they
they
doing?
blew
Missed
it.
opportunity.
I mean, that could be an amazing team if you start thinking, if you got Jon Moxley,
Yeah.
Darby Allin, Jimmy Havoc.
versus
Butcher, Blade,
We-
Bunny.
yeah, let's get a butcher in there.
Let's get a butcher. Yeah. I mean, obviously, poor Darby isn't able to win, but he puts up a good fight, and then the inner circle just lays waste to Jon Moxley, and Moxley's not able to leave on his own. So it looks like we're gonna get more Chris Jericho. I'm all for it. I love seeing more Chris Jericho.
Do you think, does Moxley have
after he retweeted you, you're all, oh my gosh.
A little bit of the
a little bit of the bubbly for Jack?
Yes. You know, the champion, he knows. We're
God.
close. Jericho and I are very, very close friends, I would assume.
Okay.
Define friends.
So I thought that was great. It looks like we're gonna get more. Do you guys want to see more Chris Jericho versus Moxley, or are you guys over it?
I'm happy with it. I think I don't see an AEW without Jericho. And I don't see Jericho not going for the title. So yeah, have at it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I was a little nervous when there was the thought of him being gone for 60 days. Not that I don't think they could do without him, but he definitely brings a lot to the table.
I think having Jericho here for about a year and then maybe slow off and go do stuff in Japan and then start a new champion, because I feel right now Jericho AEW kind of still needs Jericho. But for me, I think Chris Jericho should stay until next year.
I just think
Yeah,
he's synonymous
for sure.
with the brand. Like, I can't think of AEW without thinking Jericho.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. He brings so much fun to the show, and also I think Moxley needs to challenge him or have another match with him to sort of solidify. I think his reign. I think if Jericho was just disappear and he was to have a random defense against even someone like MJF, who I think is probably would be the number one contender after Jericho, it would seem like you need kind of a buffer in between there before just moving on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was talking earlier about, that kind of the gradient. I don't think Jericho Moxley goes all the way to Double or Nothing, but I think they're kind of do this for a little bit until we gradually get into whoever the next challenger is going to be.
Until blood and guts?
So
huh?
Blood and guts.
Josh, can you create a vomit sound drop? Save us. Save our vocal cords.
Speaking of blood and guts, Jessica, could you go ahead and do a promo for the people and tell them where they can find us?
Sure.
Yes!
It's only a few more weeks of this, guys.
Oh my goodness, I can't stop laughing. That's just how I feel when I come to AfterBuzz TV. I just can't stop laughing. I can't stop smiling, and I feel this way every single week. Thanks to you guys. You keep us going. You keep us here. Thanks to your likes, your subscribes, your follows, your Twitter, your tweets, your hashtags, all that good stuff. Keep it coming. Why don't we give a shout out to the chat?
Yeah, we've got Charlene, we've got Dang, we've got Dylan, we've got Joseph, we got Switch, we got The Real, we've got Travi, we've got Tovio. I mean, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but thank you so much for being a part of the show. We guys love having you guys in the chat, and it's always fun to participate with you guys. I always try to as much as I can, but I try not to have my eyes looking down too much whenever the camera's on.
Jack,
So
I also apologize. I promised them that you would give them an Elite of the Week at some point. I don't know when it's going to happen, and I don't know why I made that promise. But I'm just letting you know now.
But now there's a lot of pressure on you.
I saw that promise. I'm not sure if you guys should hold your breath, but listen. Elite of the Week is for sale, not for donation.
Oh.
That's what I say. hit that super
one.
chat, ladies and gentlemen. No,
He made a big donation.
huge donation.
I will be in debt for a very long time.
It was literally a bag with a dollar sign on it. But as far as promos go, we got one, or we started to get one from one Cody, who, first off, he comes out. I love that he reiterated that winners get more money and losers get less money. I've always thought that that's such a key thing in wrestling to make matches matter that people don't talk about often enough. I thought that was a cool thing to bring up. But before he got very far, a guy by the name of Jake the Snake comes out, a legend of wrestling. Jessica, I'm going to start with you. We've asked this before about DDP. How did you feel about seeing Jake the Snake, a former wrestler, come out? Did you like seeing this guy come out, or did you have this like, who's this old dude? What were your thoughts?
I always like seeing the old guys. I mean, whether I know them or not, it's just cool to see that wrestling is still such a part of their lives, and they're still so respected by people that didn't even grow up watching them.
Yeah, and Anissa, now Jake was a bit before your time as well. How'd you feel?
Well, it's so funny you mentioned that, Jack, because last night I saw Beyond the Mat on Netflix, and
Great.
It really shows how far Jake the Snake has come since 1999 till now, from my perspective, because obviously I wasn't alive in the 80s, but I mean, here we are. And I really liked the promo he did. Oh, sorry, Jack.
It's nice to be young, isn't it,
Yeah,
Anissa?
it does.
This is the AARP
You
segment.
know. But
Diabetes.
I honestly really liked that Jake the Snake came out. We thought he was going to do a positive promo, and then he was like, nope, Cody, nope.
Oh, guys, I saw this great theory online about Jake the Snake, and so he kept calling him Caesar.
Yes.
And I was like, what's going on? Like, who the hell's Caesar? And so the rumor, I mean, we know who Caesar is, sorry. But
Who is Caesar?
My good friend Caesar.
Oh, from Caesar Palace in Las Vegas?
No.
Caesar's Pizza, obviously.
There's a theory that he called him Caesar.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that a certain wrestler is going to debut in Rochester. And Rochester falls around March 15th, which is the Ides of March. And it all correlates to Cody.
And his name is Caesar.
Caesar's about to make his debut.
There's some guy in a robe, like a little things around his head.
I saw that too, and I showed Jack. We were very interested.
Yeah, it made some points about the Ides of March being March 15th, which is is it a Wednesday?
No, it's a Sunday. But let's just roll with it.
Let's roll with it. So there we go. But they have a show coming up that's going to be in Brody Lee's hometown, and so they're thinking
Rochester.
that maybe that's when he debuts.
Arrives.
But I got to give a quick shout out to a few things. His promo was so good. The things he said, if you listen to the words, that were so cool. I love how he said, I don't want the whole pie, I just want your share. Which was so cool, especially say to the boss, the Caesar. And I love how he ended it by saying, never turn your back on someone you respect or you fear. And then he throws in the microphone and turns his back on Cody.
That was great. That was great.
Such good heel
Ouch.
moves.
So it seems very much like we've decided we think it's going to be Brody Lee who's coming in. But what I was interested about, 'cause he's talking about darkness when he was talking about all this. Do we think that he's going to be tied to the Dark Order, or is this two separate things?
I hope this is two separate things. Oh,
That is a long. This long.
there's a long little plug. I hope this is two separate things because I would like to see Jake and hopefully, if it is true, Brody, be part of like not a fraction, but together like in a way, because I mean, let's be honest, they kind of look like.
At this point, the Dark Order can be anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
again, we could be in the Dark Order and not even know about it.
Or we do
Jack,
know.
Jack is. Sorry, I'm not associated.
I'm not associated.
I just sit next
He
to him.
has the suit on underneath. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
He has like the
Reveal his
t-shirt.
shirt.
So I just gonna put one of those masks on halfway through. So I'm a big fan of Jake the Snake. I've always been a fan of his. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but he has a great documentary called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake that's worth checking out, and it sort of details his recovery from alcohol and drug addiction and things like that, which was actually really cool to see. So if you have time, check that out as well. But speaking of the Dark Order, the Dark Order faced SCU and one Colt Cabana
Boom, boom.
coming to get it on. So Roger, talk us through a little bit about this fella Colt Cabana.
I know a lot about Boom Boom.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't. I know he's been around. I've always had a weird feeling towards Colt Cabana because he seems like a fun guy, but he's like a this is a weird word. He jumps around a lot in wrestling. And so I never know what to make of him. And even now, I don't know what his purpose is. Like, why are you trying to attack the Dark Order? I'm a bit confused by what Boom Boom's doing, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I?
Colt Cabana has been around since for a long
Yeah.
time. Him and CM Punk had a lot. They became famous in the
WWE.
WCW.
WCW.
in the East Coast because they wrestled a lot all the time and they just became more big and big. And then Colt Cabana was just known as just the indie darling forever. And then he had his own podcast. And then, of course, the lawsuit of WWE and CM Punk and all that crazy stuff. So bringing Colt Cabana, I think, is really good for him. But I hope to see him not always on TV. I want to see him do stuff behind the scenes. Like,
Oh, you
a
want him
producer.
backstage?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I mean,
nice.
I like to see Colt Cabana like on screen here and there, but more so, I feel like he really fits the role as a producer behind the scenes.
Keep the Boom Boom in the back.
Boom. I, for one, like Boom Boom. I think he's fun. He's a little silly, but I think he's fun. Jessica, how did you feel about seeing this new guy added to... I don't know if he's actually added to SCU, but this...
No, he's
new-
not from California. You can't add somebody who's not from California.
You can't sit with us.
Yeah. Like,
Say what
what
I-
else to do?
The Dark Order lets me sit down.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about him. I still really don't. So I guess the jury's out.
Jury's out. Now, a lot of people thought we were going to get the Exalted one tonight from the Dark Order, and there's a lot of rumors about who it could be, but no one came. Now, they did say whoever it is, he is going to be very
a he.
angry, so we know it's a he.
Good to know.
That narrows it down by barely anything.
It could still be a dinosaur.
It could still be a dinosaur. So, did you guys expect to see something? Were you bummed out that we didn't get the reveal yet, or were you?
No,
excited?
I hope we get to see the reveal at Blood and Guts. I feel like that's more of a perfect time.
Oh my God, we actually got one.
Thank you, Josh.
I feel like that's more of a perfect time because of what the title of the pay-per-view is, or is it a pay-per-view, or is it just like
It's a
another
special Dynamite.
It's like, I think it's just like Bash at the Beach.
Oh, okay. So that, I feel like it would be more accurate.
I want to take this all the way. Like, let's not find out till like the summer. Let's just keep it
Oh.
going. Yeah, like I don't want to know this mystery at all, because that's part of the fun, right? Like when you watch a horror movie, if you see the bad guy like in the first 10 minutes, it's kind of like I could take on that guy. Yeah, like no one cares. But if you keep it till the very end, you got me.
Do you think it's gonna be too much though? Like if they build up too long and then it's just like whoever, like the longer it builds, doesn't it have to be a bigger and bigger name?
Yeah, it has to be The Rock if it's till like the summer.
But that would be really cool if it was someone that was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're all hoping for. My fear is that they wait until July and then it's just like, oh, it was
boom boom.
It was boom boom the whole time. You're like, oh, okay.
Oh, no.
That's like, okay. So
who would live up to your expectations?
Yeah.
Who would be someone that you would be like, oh my God, it was him?
that's currently available. I have no idea.
Ask the chat.
The chat says most of them saying guys like Brody Lee and Matt Hardy, who are the two that keep getting recycled as people. I don't think it's either of them though, because I think that's too obvious. I think AEW knows that, and they're not going to do something that obvious. I think at this point, if it was Matt Hardy, we'd all go, oh, okay, that's who was rumored. It wouldn't be as surprising. I think it's going to be someone we're not expecting.
And that's one thing I really love about AEW is that fans predict and we think we're right, but we're always wrong.
We're a bunch of
Always
marks.
wrong.
We're a bunch
of marks. Just ask Anissa. She'll point at you and say you're a mark. Yeah, we had a quick match. I just want to make sure we cover it here because some stuff was mentioned during this match. Chuck Taylor versus Pac. To me, this felt like a match Pac was always going to win. But before we get to the end, which is where the real story happens, how did you guys feel about Pac versus Chuck Taylor?
I thought it was a good match. I mean, you predicted earlier the match that the Lucha Bros were going to come out, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we got the what's their name?
The Death Triangle.
The Death Triangle.
Yeah.
It
So
sounds
many
better in
names.
Spanish. When they said it,
Triángulo de Muerte.
God,
Boom.
that sounds cool.
See,
The Death Triangle.
The Death.
Like, say it
Yeah.
in Spanish and then I'll say it in English.
Yeah.
El Triángulo de Muerte.
The Death Triangle.
Yeah, it's not nearly as cool in English.
Like, so nerdy.
Yeah, it sounds like a math club thing.
Yeah,
Like-
it does.
Like Pythagorean's theorems coming for you. A squared.
Okay.
Oh man, A squared B squared equals C squared. That's something I
Facts.
use every single day. Use that all the time, every day. I like this team though. I like this grooming because I felt like we need some more firepower for Pac at this point, and I think Lucha Brothers need something to latch on to. I don't know how big of a team this is going to be, or if it's just going to feud with the best friends, or if it's going to be a long-going thing. But I like these guys. They're all ruthless killer type characters, and they're all really exciting.
Yeah. Jinx.
So.
Bunch of Kellas.
So speaking of death triangles, at this time, we're gonna go ahead and pass on over to one of my favorite segments of the night, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Highlight Dynamite with Anissa Barr.
I got new music.
Oh my God, I like this a lot.
Okay, guys. My dynamite highlight of the week is Peter Avalon,
Interesting.
the librarian, also known as Professional Peter. He has a lot of different names like PP Ray, Professional Peter, but he is actually from Carson City, Nevada, and as well Rancho Cucamonga. And I spoke to him, and he said, "Well, a lot of people are from Rancho, so I just say I'm from Nevada." I said, "Okay." I got you, buddy. He started his wrestling career in 2008, trained in EFW in San Bernardino, California. He wrestled many local California shows, just like EFW, AWS, SoCal Pro Wrestling, Match 1 Pro Wrestling, and of course, Barr Wrestling. He's actually most known prior to AEW with his tag team partner, as you see on the screen, with Ray Rosas as PP Ray. Their fun little gimmick as us SoCal friends would give them dollar bills every time they've come in, and they do a fun little stripper gimmick, and it's all fun. They come, they leave with $100 each, and I always miss that gimmick because they always come out with a song called "You're My Obsession," so I really love that. But in 2010, he made his Championship Wrestling from Hollywood debut, and years later, still today, he is a producer, well, one of the producers for Championship Wrestling from Arizona. So if you have the chance to watch Championship Wrestling from Arizona, I suggest you do so, because Peter Avalon is, still running it, and so lucky that AEW is giving that opportunity for him to still run a wrestling show behind the scenes.
That's cool.
Very cool.
That is my highlight dynamite of the week.
Boom. Do you want to see him go back to the stripper gimmick, or do you prefer the librarian?
Well, AEW won't let anybody become a stripper, so...
Yeah, talk about a sharp left. Stripper to librarian.
Maybe he's still a stripper.
Right.
But, I mean, if you're getting $100 bills thrown at you and you're getting $100 every time you do it...
Easy choice.
What am I doing here?
What am I-
The money's out there.
That's how we do this, huh? So speaking of Peter Avalon, his buddy Leva Bates had a match tonight against Big Swole.
Swole.
I love Big Swole.
Me too.
I absolutely love her. She has so much energy. She's so fun. How did you guys feel about this match?
I feel like it was a little too short. I'm going to be straight honest. I wish it was a little bit longer. I feel that we don't get to see a lot of these two women. I understand, obviously, there's time consuming, but still, for me, I would like to see, Leva Bates wrestle more, because she's such a good wrestler. So is Big Swole, and I feel that with these two women, I wish we got to see more of them tonight.
It always bodes poorly for someone when they're already in the ring when we come back from commercial break.
Not a good sign.
Yeah, and the fact that we didn't see the intro for Leva was a bad sign for her. I don't know what they're gonna do with the librarians. I don't feel like they can come back from their sort of downward trajectory. Jessica, how did you feel about the women's match this evening?
Yeah, kind of going off what Anissa said. These are people that we don't get to see that often, and the crowd, I think, was appreciative of that, because the women's division right now is, I don't know, like I feel like we maybe could use some new faces to get behind.
Yeah, it definitely, as mentioned last week, it felt like they kind of reset it. I think they were planning Riho versus the Nightmare Collective, and it wasn't really working, and so I think they just kind of cut it and let's start over, and they're sort of rebuilding from scratch. But I like all the pieces they have. I liked Britt Baker on commentary, again, being super condescending to poor Tony Schiavone.
She gave him a Starbucks. Oh, that Starbucks had no drink in it, by the way. Like, if you're going to use props, come on, guys.
Yeah, you could tell the way they were holding it, there was nothing.
Here's your drink.
Yeah. Because, in reality, you'd be like, here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't spill it. Cause
there's foam at the top. Gotta be careful.
So I think we're building probably towards a Big Swole versus Britt Baker, and then the winner of that will probably go on to face Nyla Rose. I'm guessing. That's my assumption. If I'm playing armchair booker.
Sucker.
Dun, 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 dun. Speaking of armchair bookers, we had QT Marshall versus Jake Hagar. Hagar squashing some folks, it looks like, just kind of showing that he's a big, tough dude. QT Marshall is always interesting to me. I feel like we don't really know much about him.
Yeah.
There's been a lot
There was a lot of that tonight, I feel. You know?
What am I watching?
Dynamite?
This was another meaty match. I feel like we've been having a lot of meaty matches lately. Where like
just meat slapping around.
So much.
So much.
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't go up to these guys. So I like that they're having these guys feud. It's a different type of a style. And so, we kind of have a little bit of everything. If you go through the rundown, we kind of end up with like a little bit of meat at the end to whet your appetite. So I like that.
Yeah,
Sure.
Now let's face it. The real story here, and the thing that I think we all pulled away from this was the scuffle at the end of the match, where Jake Hagar gets the win. Then the Inner Circle comes in. Then Cody comes in. Then Matt Jackson all by himself comes in. From what I understand, Nick Jackson had some stuff going on that he was handling. I heard it was a baby on the way. I could be wrong though. I don't know.
Apparently.
You made it sound bad at first.
Apparently he's
Baby.
Well, I didn't know what it was, so I didn't want to say because I don't like to say things if I don't know.
Start some rumors here.
And so I was trying to then I realized it sounded like something bad happened, so I had to say it was something good so that people didn't think something bad happened. But my favorite part, my boy Hangman Adam Page comes out with his drink, sets it down first, and then cleans house before giving the middle finger to Matt Jackson. Are we going to see? It seems like we're seeing not just a split in the Elite, but it seems like we're getting a Hangman versus Matt Jackson specifically rivalry going. Are we down for that?
Mm-hmm.
We are down for that. I think there's more to come here. There's a lot of middle fingers that were happening tonight.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I want to throw one right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many.
No explicit tag.
Nah. There's so many. But I feel like there's definitely been a brewing rivalry between these two. And maybe it's a great opportunity for us to highlight how great Matt Jackson is as a singles wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
They are great singles wrestlers. The old saying is you've got to be a good singles wrestler to be a good tag team wrestler. So he can definitely go, and you definitely at Revolution, you could see that he had a lot of emotion going on in his face. He was telling a lot of story in the way he was just emoting, not just the actual match, but his face and everything else. And so I do feel like we might get a little one-on-one between these two. Again, I'm really, really loving the Matt Jackson, or the Hangman Adam Page character at this point. But you know who else I'm loving? I got 5 people I'm loving.
Oh.
You know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. It's time.
Elite of the Week.
That's right. As always, we start at number 5 and we work our way down from there. And at number 5, we've got the legend himself, Jake the Snake Roberts. If you don't know who he is, go ahead and Google it. He has influenced so many people, and he's the inventor of the DDT, something that revolutionized wrestling, really. If you think about it, I think so anyways. He is a star. I love him. Number 4, we got Darby Allin. Now, he came up short today, but he looked like he could go 1-on-2 with the very best in the business. He's a star in the making. Scratch that. He's just a star. He goes at number 4. Number 3, we got my boy Hangman Adam Page. Takes a drink, throws a punch, walks out of there. That's how you get it done. You're not paid by the hour. Knock him out and get out of town. Number 2, we've got Jon Moxley. Now, I know he's a new world champion. He should be number 1, right? But he took a few hard L's tonight, so he can't be number 1. But he's still the champion, and it's a new world. Number 1,
You're gonna get an
my
album next week.
boy, Chris Jericho. You know why? Not only did he just take out his arch nemesis, but more importantly than anything else, Chris Jericho retweeted me.
Oh my God.
And I've always said number 1 is up for sale. So Chris Jericho, you're number 1 on this Elite of the Week.
That was your Elite of the Week.
You're gonna get some L's next week.
What is
I hope the chat is roasting you right now. Get 'em,
watch your
chat.
back when you get out of here.
Well, if they were super chatting, maybe they'd be number 1. Ooh, I'm joking. I love you, chat. Come on, you're all honorable mentions in my heart.
You are so an
This
inner
is
circle
recorded
person.
forever.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I thought that's the Elite of the Week.
Good to know.
Something I wanted to ask you guys about. Next week, they're going to release the rules for Blood and Guts. Before we Blood and Guts. What are you guys expecting from this? We do know it's a two rings, cage over both of them with a roof on top of it. What else are they going to add? Do you think it's going to be single elimination? How many people do you think are be involved? What do you think's going on?
I think we need honestly, we need blood and we need guts. I'm not lying.
Or I'm not watching.
I'm not watching. Like maybe like a first blood. We like that.
You want actual guts?
They're promising blood and guts. If I'm not getting that, I don't know why I'm tuning in.
Interesting how they will do the guts part.
Right.
I'm not booking this. I'm just...
So we had some guts. So how do you? Okay. So Anissa, what about you?
For me, any type of death match thing. But also, I wish we get to see, hopefully, the Elite versus maybe the Inner Circle, you know? But that, for me, that's something that I would like to see.
I absolutely agree. And other things I think we'd all like to see is all of us online. Jessica, can you tell everyone where they can find you online after the show?
I sure can. You can follow me on Twitter at JO'Connor with 3 N's, on Instagram at JessicaO'Connor_.
And you can find me on Twitter, Roger_Corral.
And on all social media platforms at Anissa.
And Josh in the booth.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok at JOAL323.
And you can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at RealJackFarmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the WWE Raw After Show every Monday night at 9 p.m. as well as the AEW social media skim. This week, I see who the next person to join Shawn Spears as a tag team partner should be. You're definitely going to check that out. I also just started on a new show we're doing. It's the Hall of Fame wish list for the WWE. We filmed it today. Check it out. We talk about factions that should be added to the WWE. It's a really good show. Check it out with Flobo and Steve Kaufman. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, do your best and be yourself.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.